questions about what I called my hobby bag the other day. It's really just a bag where I keep a collection of things that I may grab or use throughout the day or whenever I have time to just sort of relax my mind, or if I have a little downtime and want to do something that feels productive but maybe really isn't. I have my little bag that I can reach into. Sometimes I'll take it with me if I'm going somewhere like to one of my kids' tournaments and I'll have a little downtime. Sometimes if I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast, I like to just keep my hands busy, and so I'll dip into my hobby bag for that. So why don't we go ahead and I can show you what's in there, but first let's light a candle. I have this candle here that I made, or poured I should say. It is the Volcano Scent by Capri Blue. That is the essential oil that I poured in it. So I was thinking we could just have this burning in the background during our time together. So we'll just enjoy the soft glow of this candle back here. Okay, so this is my hobby bag. I don't know what else to call it. My activity bag. I'm not really sure. This bag is very old. It's from LL Bean. I grew up in Maine, and so everybody from Maine has like a vast collection of LL Bean bags. They do come back every now and then and rise in popularity, but they're just sort of like a classic. These and duck boots, if you're not familiar with duck boots, the LL Bean duck boots, I feel like they might be becoming more fashionable again, but they're very functional. And again, when you grow up in Maine, everybody has just like a bin full of duck boots that you have in every size, and they get handed down from person to person. And duck boots are just basically like a waterproof leather shoe. It's like leather on top, and then the bottom is like rubber, and the rubber comes up over your toes. And the laces, I mean, now they're probably different, but the laces back when I used to wear them as a kid, they were like a rope almost. So this is a very old LL Bean tote bag. They're very well made canvas bags that clearly last for years. So I'll show you what I keep in here currently. This is a word search book. I love doing word searches. I have several of these books that might be like a third is a crossword puzzle, a third is Sudoku, and a third is word searches. I like the word searches the most because they're just like the easiest thing to do to sort of turn your mind off. Sudokus take a lot of brain power, I think. Crossword puzzles as well. I also like using spiral bound books like this. So sometimes we use a highlighter, sometimes we just use a pen. this one was called A Piece of Cake. So beef cake, birthday, cheese, coffee, crab, devil's food, fish, hot, layer, Johnny, tea, rum, rice, oat, marble, patty cake. So, and the large print, we don't necessarily need large print, but it just makes it a little easier to do. So this is my word search book. I'll do them sometimes, like if I'm like listening to a podcast or an audiobook, and I often will listen to audiobooks or podcasts and do just things around the house like cleaning and chores and laundry and whatever needs to be done. But if by some miracle all of those things are done, I might pull out a word search to do while I'm listening to my book or my podcast if I want to keep listening to it at that moment. Or if I just have like 5 or 10 minutes to kill, I'll do that. So that is my word search book. Need a cup of coffee here. And then I have my little reading pouch. I don't always use this, but sometimes when I'm reading a book for book club, or if it's a book that I'm trying to like really absorb the information from, like if it's like a personal fulfillment book or self-help or something like more educational like that I want to like take notes, I'll use this pouch. And this is really pretty. It's like embroidered with little flowers on a canvas pouch. It has a front pocket here. There's no zipper, but I keep sticky tabs for if I'm reading a book and I want to I mean, you can choose whatever key you like for when you annotate a book, but you can put those tabs there and then use the color, the correlating color, for whenever you find something that you want to make note of that specific thing. But I like to just sort of keep track of important parts to me or quotes that stood out. And then I may like go back and just read those just before I go to my book club. And then also in this zipper pouch, I will keep the tabs that I'm using. So these are the ones that I'm using for this book. And then I also keep my highlighter, which is not actually a highlighter. It's just a marker pen, like one of those. Actually, well, I'll show you some other ones that are similar, but it's like a paint tip. Can you see that? A paint tip marker. And it does have a fine point as well. Finer point. But it is like in just like a beige color. And I like using these because it's not super stark. So it's just like a very soft highlight in the book. Just feels a little softer on the eye. So I highlight with this. You don't have to use a real highlighter. You can just use anything, but you do want to make sure that it doesn't bleed through the pages or like run or like bleed onto the next page. I like this because you can't see, sometimes highlighters you can see through the page, so like if the page behind it is highlighted, you can see it through there and you're not sure which side is supposed to be highlighted. So I like this pen or marker for highlighting. And then I also have my pen that I use specifically for writing in books. So this is a Pentel Arts Hybrid Techna 0.3 millimeter. And it's just a very fine point tip. So I'll write something with it. So you can see how fine. There we go, come on. You got this. There we go. You can see how fine the writing is. And so it also doesn't run through the pages. It doesn't bleed. Sometimes if you use like ink markers or what are those pens? Oh, gel pens. Pens can be very liquidy and can really bleed through the pages, or just sort of like when you're writing small, it can blend together. So this is a nice fine tip pen for writing in books. I don't do a ton of writing in books. It just depends on what it is. And like sometimes some books will have prompts. Again, some like of the more I keep wanting to say self-help, but that's not the word people use anymore. They use growth, personal growth. So for some of the more like personal growth type books, you may want to, write in them a little bit more. So a pen like this is really nice to use in a book. So that is my little book pouch, which I'm going to go ahead and just fill back up, I think. So my post-it notes go in here. My bookmark. My little magnetic bookmarks. These are cute. I got a whole bunch of these for teachers' gifts. book pouch. Okay, and then I also have in here my coloring book. I love coloring. I find it to be such a soothing activity. It's funny because kids love coloring, you know, they love a good coloring page. They love focusing and taking their time on it. I think little girls especially love to color. And it's something that as we get older, we just kind of stop doing. But I found that once I had children and I was coloring with them, I was like, wow, this is like a really enjoyable activity. And it's not something that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to like stress about like, am I staying in the lines? I mean, I try to stay in the lines. But you don't have to stress about it. There's no rules. There's no like color formula you have to follow. There's no stress about it. There's no consequences. If it doesn't come out great, it's okay. It doesn't matter. So this is the Don't Worry, Be Happy coloring book treasury. And again, I always like a coloring book that has a spiral edge. So this does give you some inspiration or ideas, and it talks about like different ways to color each picture, about how to maybe use the different patterns and how you may want to color them. And like basically like if there's a blank line like this in the coloring page, you don't have to color it blank. You can go ahead and add a design, a squiggly line. You can embellish these more, anything you want to do. It's funny, like sometimes I feel like, especially as adults, like you see this shape and you think, okay, I have to just fill it in. That's just the shape. But that's not the case. You could draw something like this. You could turn it into a flower, a sun. You could do anything you want. And then this just talks about color a little bit. And repetition. There's a little lesson on color theory here. I haven't actually read any of this. I don't take my coloring this seriously. But it says here, color theory. Check out this nifty color wheel. Each color is labeled with a P, primary, S, secondary, or T, tertiary. The primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. They are primary because they can't be created by mixing other colors. Primary colors create the secondary colors, orange, green, and purple, or violet. Mixing secondary colors creates the tertiary colors, yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-purple, red-purple, and red-orange. Working toward the center of the large petals, you'll see 3 rows of lighter colors called tints. A tint is a color plus white. Moving in from the tints, you'll see 3 rows of darker colors called shades. A shade is a color plus black. The colors on the top half of the color wheel are considered warm colors, red, orange, and yellow. The colors on the bottom half are called cool, green, blue, purple. Colors opposite of the color wheel are called complementary, and colors that are next to each other are called analogous. Look at the examples and note how each color combo affects the overall appearance and feel of the butterfly. For more inspiration, check out the colored examples on the following page. Refer to the swatches at the bottom of the page to see colors selected for each piece. That's a great little lesson. It's spelled out so simply there. Okay, so let's see here. And these pages are serrated, so you can rip them out if you want to like hang them up, or if you've got guests and they're coloring. Like I said, I always have children over at my house, and if I put this out with some markers, some like soft core color pencils with more color variation. But the nice thing about color pencils is you can mix the colors pretty easily. So here we have purple, dark green, dark blue, yellow, light blue, orange, dark orange, dark green, red, light brown, dark brown, and black. I often will use markers for coloring the details on the page, but then I'll use colored pencils for some of the bigger spaces. I also enjoy coloring with crayons. However, sometimes they become so dull, I like to have a pointed tip. So this is my little marker pouch. And it's just a little canvas pouch. The nice thing about this pouch though is it has these little tabs on the side. And if you pull them down like this, it makes a little cup for your markers, so you can just set them down on the table and you can see all the colors at the top. So in here we have, these are like, I call them like paint markers, even though they don't paint, because they just have one end as a brush tip, like that, and the other end has a finer pointed tip, like that. And these, I've purchased this set of markers so many times. They don't run out of ink, but the tips become, this one's not too bad. Let me see if I can find one. Our pinks tend to go first. Here we go. So like the tip of the marker becomes less detailed, so it's harder to get into some of the finer points. There's just nothing better than fresh art supplies, right? As a kid, as an adult, it's always fun. But this is a nice variety of colors here. I don't remember. I'll try to link the marker set that I buy. They're very good. They have lots of ink in them. They don't run. And again, I like how they have like a detailed end and a brushed end. I do like to store them with the brush tip down. But there's a wide variety of pinks and blues and greens, some earthier tones. This would be one I could use for a highlighter if I wanted to, but I don't like to break up these sets because my kids use them too. But like this peachy color could work, or this like light yellow could work, or whatever this is, I don't know. Green, those could work as a highlighter in your book too. But that is my marker pouch. Isn't that handy? My daughter has the same one, but with, it has a little cat on it, so it's got like a cat body down here and the cat face here, and then when you pull it down, it looks like the cat's like lying is just knit forever at the same width. So I don't really know how to make anything. I did make when I was pregnant with my son and I was on bed rest for just a very short time. I did knit him a little hat, a little blue soft hat, and all I did was knit the blue like a little rectangle, and then I sewed it in half, and I tied the little points on the side with yarn and made little ears, and it looked like a little bear hat. It was very cute and so soft and sweet like blue. So knitting is on my list of things to learn. I've actually thought about maybe I have a friend who, she's my daughter's friend's mom, but we're often sitting on the sidelines together at games, and she's a knitter, big knitter, and she could probably teach me, but like she's so busy and I'm busy, and so I feel bad asking her. It's something that I could probably learn on YouTube or something, but I may make that like a little goal for the summer to learn how to knit. It also just feels like a cozy thing to do in the winter time. Sit by a fire, knit. I don't know, I love the idea of it. And I was in a little shop the other day, and they had these knit, it was a small knit, the yarn. It was a cotton yarn, or I don't know if you call it yarn, no matter what it's made of, but it was like a cotton, and they had made these beautiful handmade dish towels, and I was like, oh, that would be such a useful thing to knit, because I'm also like, what am I gonna make if I knit? Am I gonna make hats, and then like how many hats am I gonna make? And I don't know, the idea of making a sweater or something seems overwhelming, and like, would anybody even wear it? I don't know. So I mean, blankets, I guess, but I was thinking like dish towels would be an easy thing, because they're just like a rectangle. So that could be my goal, is to like knit a dish towel. So if any of you are knitters and have like a tutorial that you could recommend, let me know. Also, I would love to hear what your little hobbies are. I have other hobbies. I like play pickleball, I paint, I watercolor paint. I don't know, I have other little things that I enjoy, but these are sort of my like easy, mindless hobbies. I mean, reading's not mindless, but I just keep it all together there. So for like downtime, and even like it's nice to have a hobby like knitting, for example. It's nice because you can do it when you're kind of paying attention to something. So like when you're watching a show or a movie, or if you're sitting on the sidelines at a game or something like that, you can sort of just, I don't know, keep your hands busy while you pay attention. So yes, I would love to hear what your hobbies are. I know some people do scrap